And now we're going to continue with our geography lesson. Now, what is a coastline? Well, to kind of give you kind of an example of a coastline, I live near a place called Lake Decatur. Now, this is kind of it's not really as much of a lake as what the title of it says, but anyway, if you were to go to Nelson Park in Lake Decatur, you would find in some places where you would see it into the land, there'd be a little bit of sand, and then the water would begin, okay? Now, there are better examples of coastlines than Lake Decatur. I'll give you that one. Lake Shelbyville would have a slightly better example of a coastline than Lake Decatur. But if you were to travel to, say, like the Great Lakes, which are up north from me, or if you were to go all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, which is east of me, or you would go to the Pacific Ocean, which is west of me, what you'd find is there'd be an into the land, and then you'd find a little patch of sand, okay? And that's why you call it a beach, because the beach has sand on it. And then afterwards, you'd have your water. So the coastline is the thing that divides the sand from the water. Okay? So if you go past the coastline, you'll dive right into the water. That's the way it works. Okay? Now, when you're talking about the coastline of the Atlantic Ocean, it goes all the way from Canada through the eastern states, which includes New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, so on and so forth. Goes all the way down the Carolinas and goes all the way down to Florida. And then if you go past Florida, you'll still find the Atlantic Ocean coastline in Cuba, in Central America, all the way down through South America, because South America has coastlines that lead directly into the Atlantic Ocean. And if you were to go just slightly north of the continent of Antarctica, you'd find the Atlantic Ocean. Okay? So, now granted, when it comes to Antarctica, if you were to go north of Antarctica, in certain spots you wouldn't find the Atlantic Ocean, but in some spots of Antarctica, you go slightly north of that, you're going to find the Atlantic Ocean. That's the way it works. Don't believe me? You can check out a map for yourself. But anyway, the east coast of the Atlantic Ocean is what I just described. The west coast of the Atlantic Ocean is in Africa. If you were to go to Africa, you'd find the west coast of the Atlantic Ocean. Europe also is the west coast of the Atlantic Ocean. So on and so forth. Okay? Now there are 3 oceans on this planet. 3 of them. You have the Atlantic Ocean, which I just described the east coast and the west coast of the Atlantic Ocean. Now I grant you that when it comes to Central America, there is this thing called the Gulf of Mexico, and part of the east coast of Central America, which is being Mexico, is the east coast of the Gulf of Mexico. Alright? And you can find the west coast of the Gulf of Mexico on the Florida coast. Okay? So part of the Florida coast is the west coast of the Gulf of Mexico. The other part is the east coast of the Atlantic Ocean. Alright? So, now that we've talked about the Atlantic Ocean for a bit, and no, it has not been fully covered yet. Okay, that's just a brief glimpse of it. Let's talk about the Pacific Ocean. Alright? So, what do you find on the Pacific Ocean? Well, if we're looking for the west coast of the Pacific Ocean, you would find Alaska, Canada, the states of Washington, Oregon, and California, Mexico, and, believe it or not, South America. South America is the west coast of the Pacific Ocean. If you wanted to find the east coast of the Pacific Ocean, you'd go over to Asia. Yeah, that's right. If you wanted to go to China or Japan or any of those Oriental countries, even Australia is the east coast of the Pacific Ocean. Now, if you're looking on a map and you're not looking for the Atlantic Ocean and you're not looking for the Pacific Ocean, then there's only one other ocean you should be looking for, and that is the Indian Ocean. Okay? And I'm going to let you look up the Indian Ocean for yourself. So now you know where the Atlantic Ocean is, and you know where the Pacific Ocean is. So if they ask you to identify the three oceans, and you've already identified the other two, then the only one that's left would be the Indian Ocean. Very easy to identify. Alright, I will tell you more in a future video, so stay tuned.